And that's a beautiful lesson. And I definitely talk about that too, because I was really lucky that my mother taught me and had me in the kitchen very, very young. And I know that I have spoken to quite a few mamas who are like, I don't want them to get burnt or I don't want them to cut a finger off. And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
there are steps you can take, but it's really important. And I think as a child to be included, and I know both my sons cook very well. My oldest son, I think, has almost surpassed me. So they have learned. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
like your children too, which is awesome. Hola, and welcome to Molé Mama Cooking with Love. So grateful that you're listening today. We're all about bringing you amazing chefs and foodies and entrepreneurs and nutritionists that are helping us to connect and learn. Because at the end of the day, we're all here with our stories to share and to learn from each other. I'd also love for you to check out our YouTube channel where you can learn how to make some of my mother's amazing homemade recipes and other home chefs. So if you've ever wanted to truly have the best guacamole of your life, you have to visit our YouTube channel, as well as her crunchy tacos, chimichangas, molcajetes de queso y chorizo fundido, enchiladas, and so much more. And if you're cooking any of these dishes and you have any questions at all, please private message us. We'd love to help you make those successful. I know that you can get in that kitchen sometimes and be like, oh, what do I do? How do I do that? So just reach out. We're happy to help. And if you like what you're hearing today, please subscribe and also leave us a message. We love hearing comments from our listeners and understanding what you'd like to hear more of. So just do that. And just because I love Mother Teresa so much, I have to share this with you every recording. But from her, spread love everywhere you go and let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. And our episodes are all about trying to make you smile and connect. Remember maybe that meal that you had with a loved one, but just leave your day a little bit happier. So I am super excited about my guest tonight. So I have the amazing Miss Katie from Heritage Ways. I found this woman and her amazing family through my dear friend Andrea from our Supper Stories. And she's just doing all kinds of amazing things, including a YouTube channel where she cooks with her entire family. So we're going to hear all about that in a moment. But let me just read a quick bio for you so you can learn a little bit more about her. But Miss Katie is the wife of her wonderful Mr. Patient and the mama of a family of 6 children, 2 daughters-in-law, and 2 grandchildren. She is a follower of Jesus and a Southern girl with an appreciation of both her Southern and Northern heritage. Her mama used to read to her 1940s book, Caps for Sale. The folk tale is about a man who wears so many caps. Katie thinks of this childhood story when recounting the occupational roles she has played in her life: cashier, public school teacher, daycare director, tutor, beauty consultant, caterer, brand developer, content creator, motivator, influencer, event organizer, speaker, homeschool educator, author, and the list continues to grow. Her most cherished roles in life are the ones which don't offer monetary reward. Her hopes and dreams on this earth are wrapped up in the very occupations of which her little girl dreams are made of: wife, mommy, and homekeeper. Katie is thankful for her dream come true life. She is an author of From Katie's Kitchen, Value 1 cookbook, and we're going to talk a lot about that because there are some really yummy recipes in there. She's a content creator for Heritage Ways, and she and her family can be found at heritageways.com, Heritage Ways YouTube and Instagram, where they honor home and celebrate heritage and spread hope. So with that, welcome to the show, Miss Katie. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. I am thrilled to be here. And thank you for that introduction. And I'm just honored to talk to you because I know that we share a lot of the same values and hopes and dreams for our lives and our families and our nation and our world.
Absolutely. That's why I knew I had to talk to you. There's so much that we have in common. I absolutely agree. So can you share with our listeners a little bit more about Heritage Ways and where
Absolutely.
did you start it?
Yes. Well, Heritage Ways. That's the name of our brand. Um, I kind of fell into this brand building game. um, and where do I start? Well, I'll tell you how we got the name here in a minute, but I have always, I'll tell you little bits and pieces of our big, long journey and story, but I have had a cooking show since I was about 5 years old. Now, if you do the math, that was about 44 years ago. And no, let's see, that was more than that. But anyway, so you think, well, there were no such things. And what is she talking about? Ever since, I watched Julia Child and what's the Cajun guy? Justin Wilson and all of those people that were on you know, it was Channel 8 in Nashville, but um, public television.
Yes,
And
PBS.
I always would cook, right? And I would just cook and I would talk to the air, tell them what I'm doing. And it was always a joke, when I was little and then I was at high school and then I was young married and it was just kind of a habit and it was funny and it was a joke. So I've really been practicing for my own cooking show that long. And I love home. I've dabbled in so many things and been privileged and thankful to have had the opportunity to have had so many experiences and had played so many different roles. But it always comes back to home. And I love being at home. I love everything about home, but especially the kitchen. And I just feel like I'm convinced it's just innate with me. I'm convinced that the Lord put that in me, that desire to um, nourish people's souls and bodies. And when I say nourish souls, I firmly believe that the table is just the place where we can all come together and share not only a meal, but fellowship and stories and experiences and life. And so I can talk a little bit more about that and the different ways we've shown hospitality in the past. But so I had equipped myself through much practice for years, and about when our second son went into the workplace, we have six children, three are adults and three are littles. So we have a large gap from 27 years old down to 8 years old. And the two oldest are married, and we have two grandchildren. So when our second son went into the workforce, he came home appalled and he said, Mom, there are these girls at work my age who don't know how to bake bread or cornbread or biscuits or macaroni and cheese or what have you. You've got to do something. And I said, what in the world am I supposed to do with the world of people who don't know how to make macaroni and cheese? I don't understand. And he said, oh, you've got to do something. So he kind of planted that seed, and I dabbled with trying to have a camp of sorts, and it didn't work out. And and that's okay. And then at the same time, and this was about 3 years ago that all this was happening. Well, maybe more than that, 4 or 5. And at the same time, I was on Instagram, and that was really the only social media platform I was using. And we were called by a different name. We were not Heritage Ways then. It was a different name. And originally it was Katie in Kitchen, and that was a private account. But then we opened a public account. I say I did, we meaning me. And I opened a public one and dabbled in the world of having a public Instagram account. And I just started posting things about homemaking and homekeeping and cooking and so forth. And I would write long posts. So the adult children of mine said, okay, Mom, no, this is not how you operate. You need a website for that kind of thing. So I said, really? So, I eventually built a website after talking to the wonderful people on the phone. I'm no techie, but I've just everything I've done, I've just learned. I've figured it out and I've learned. And So we have a website where I can put my longer posts and keep those off of Instagram. We still do have Instagram. And as a result of my son wanting me to teach the world how to make macaroni and cheese, I started a YouTube channel. So, all my cooking experience and my
Fantastic.
practice, it there you go. So that's kind of how it started. But it's odd because it's almost like um, there were several paths that led to the one highway or interstate, which we now know as heritage ways. Honestly, there are several different reasons, but that's just one of them. And we just heritage ways we changed the name to heritage ways at the advice of a friend a couple years ago, and the friend said this just isn't going to work right, your previous name, which was Homekeeping Book. Because at the time I was writing a book and I thought it was going to be um, as much homekeeping information as it was cooking. And yeah, so we love heritage, especially my family, not as much my husband's, but my family has always just had a deep appreciation for heritage and passed down heirlooms, and that were 3 and 4 and 5 generations back. And just, I've really just, it's been drilled into me all my life. And I'm so thankful for that. And we have found that there are people who don't know their heritage or have learned to appreciate their heritage. And so we just try to share ours and encourage other people um, to share theirs. And even if they don't know their heritage, we say, start where you are. Tell one person your story and tell your niece or tell your granddaughter, or share a recipe. And a lot of what we do, obviously, is centered around food and the table and the kitchen. Um,
Mhm.
so we do encourage people. So our I guess our tagline is called "We honor home, celebrate heritage, and spread hope." And everything we are doing, physically or on social media, falls into the one or more of those categories. So that's kind of a little bit about how we started and what we stand for.
And that's so beautiful. I love those three things. They're so powerful. And I want to have you talk about your video channel because I think it's lovely that it's a family thing. It's
Mhm.
just not a Miss Katie cooking.
Right.
You get your children involved. And, for me, that's some of my best memories of my whole life are cooking with my mom and my
Mhm.
tias and others. So it's so beautiful to see you in your kitchen with your cast of characters or all your family members cooking together.
Yes.
I just love it. So, can you share a little bit more with our listeners about, because you have a lot of videos? So, what can you share with us about?
Yes. Well, we do. Thank you for asking me to share that. Actually, we have um 500, give or take two or three. I don't remember the number right now, but we've been Heritage Ways YouTube has been on for, we just had our second anniversary, July 2nd of this year. And we've got over, well, I'm going to say 500 videos. So, and at this point, we're putting out, as I'm able, we're putting out every Thursday morning at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. And then if it's a series, if they relate to one another, um, I will put them out Thursday and Friday and Saturday if necessary. Well, our video content, like I mentioned, it does fall under those categories: home, heritage, hope. So we have a lot of cooking, and we're going to start having even more because that's what our friends, our subscribers, our viewers like and have asked for more of. So I'm working on a cake series, old fashioned cakes and southern pies and so forth. So I'm working on that. But also, we love to share stories about people we call heritage keepers. Um, for example, we have the very first one I did a couple of years ago is about a heritage keeper. Is a lady whose heritage is candle making, and she traced it back to her roots in, I believe it's Montana. and she lives in Tennessee. And I did a video with her, and I was so excited to get to talk to her. And those are some of my very favorite candles that I still use and get from her. Um, just this past week on YouTube, we had a series. It's a 3 video series about a heritage farm, a century farm in Tennessee. And I happen to know it's a young girl who used to be the Littles' babysitter, and she married the grandson of a family friend. The family had been friends with both mine and my husband's families for years, so we had several different ties there. And the young couple has taken on the task of um, taken that heritage farm and is going to run it. And it seemed like there was not going to be anybody else necessarily to step up and run it. And so they are very excited to do that. And we did a 3-part video series on that and just share. We like to share about everyone's heritage. And I'd like to talk, before we leave each other tonight, Diana, at some point about the importance of listening and sharing stories, which is it's what you do here, Diana. But that series is about it embodies home, heritage, hope than any more than any other video we have done, because it's all about home, and it's all about their heritage, that family's heritage, and the hope for the future, whether it's hope for farmers or homesteaders or that particular family. So we have videos such as that, all kinds of videos about heritage keepers, and also videos about spreading hope. We have some very serious ones. For example, my aunt and uncle who lost a child, and they share how they got through that. And I've had people to write to me and say, this helped me so much. So everything's not, serious and heavy like that is. But if we see an opportunity to develop content that's going to encourage someone or give them hope, that's what we try to do. And we do a lot of cooking with the children in the kitchen, and yeah, they like that, especially the 2 younger ones of ours that love to be in the kitchen. And a couple of them, the youngest, we call him Little Music Man, and he loves to do his own cooking videos sometimes. So he's got 2 or 3 on there that are his own. And then Little Miss Homemaker is our daughter at home, and then John Boy is our a son who's still at home. And then, like I said, the other 3 are moved on and cooking in their own homes.
That's fantastic. I mean, I think it's somewhat, I hope we're going to prevent this, but I think in some ways, cooking at home and cooking with our families and our friends and our loved ones has become kind of a backseat lost art in
Right.
our culture because we're so busy and running around. So
Yes.
I think anything that we can do and that's the goal of Molé Mama, is to encourage people to cook at home and build
Mm-hmm.
community around cooking and being with each other. And as you mentioned, those stories. And, I've talked about this before, but when I make my crunchy tacos, I'm at the stove and I'm frying away, and it's very casual and people are standing around eating tacos, but it always amazes me because nobody's on their phone. Nobody's looking
Mm.
down at
Oh,
their
that's
phone.
beautiful.
Nobody's
Mm.
talking to each other. And I think
Right.
that that's the community piece that I love about cooking together and being together is that connection that we're building.
That's
Now,
true. And it,
I had somehow missed on your YouTube channel your Hope videos, so I'm gonna have to go and check those out because
okay.
they're amazing. Um, and I did want to ask you, you've been practicing for this role since you were 5, but who taught you how to cook? Was it your mama, your grandma?
Oh, and I do mention this in my cookbook. And I'll tell you, um, I had my sweet niece Chloe to do a little bit of editing for me, and she says, "KK, a dedication is not supposed to be 6 pages long." And I said, "Well, maybe so, but this is KK's cookbook, so this is how it is." And truly, I wanted to dedicate. I've got another one in my brain, actually in my computer, my second cookbook, but I wanted to dedicate that book the first book to those people who had the most tremendous influence, and it is not your usual dedication. And honestly, in that, and I know you have a copy of the book, and maybe some of your listeners might, be interested. But in that dedication, um, of course, my mother was a home ec, well, I don't think they call it now consumer science, but she was a home ec major in college, and she taught that in when I was older in high school. And so, she had that desire and that talent, that gift and interest. And then, you know what, my mom was from the South, if you haven't guessed, and in the introduction you said I'm from Tennessee. But I've always lived in the South near Nashville all my life. And my father and his family are from Ohio. So I always, all my life I have gone to Ohio. So it's kind of like my second home state, if you will. And I have been so influenced by both sides of my family. I happily call myself bi-regional because I'm truly am, I'm familiar with Southern dressing at Thanksgiving and stuffing. So they say, the G. I don't say, I drop the G, but in Ohio, stuffing for Christmas. So I'm very familiar with both of those, types of food, genres of food, if you will. And so I learned so much from my mother, and I learned from my Southern grandmother. And then I learned, surprisingly, not as much from my Northern grandmother, but she did give me a lot of examples of. She preserved a lot of food. I use her pizza sauce recipe, and she made jams and jellies and things like that. She wasn't necessarily in the kitchen all the time cooking um, food for meals, maybe like my Southern grandmother. But then there was my German uncle. Now he was German. My background, my family, my ancestors are German, but he married into the family, and he came over through Ellis Island. It was so exciting to get to go see his name on the wall a few months ago at Ellis Island. And he came over as a child, 11 years old. He's passed now, of course. And he was a baker in Detroit when he came as in his teenage years before he moved to Ohio. And he taught me so much. He taught me how to make mashed potatoes. I mean, seriously, y'all, there's a right and a wrong way. And, he taught me how to make cream spinach. Oh, my word. It is so good. And of course, all the things that I still haven't tackled yet, and all the things I can't pronounce in German, all the pastries.
Mhm.
I have the recipes for them, and stolen. That's one I can pronounce. But and then of course donuts, all those wonderful things. And honestly, I've been influenced since I've been met my husband and married. I've been influenced by his mom and his grandmother, and my father-in-law made fudge, and my grandfather-in-law his southern country hams that my husband still carries on that tradition of making every year. So a lot of people have influenced me. And you know what? I watched a whole lot of cooking videos on television. Our family doesn't really have television now, so we don't have that access. But honestly, I learned a whole lot on television and cooking shows and picking it up and reading cookbooks. I don't know about your listeners, Diana, but I can pick up a cookbook. Law, I can just read it like a novel and
Oh, me
never,
too.
just read it. And I love doing that. So that wasn't an easy answer. Easy question to answer because it has multiple answers, but I've learned from a lot of people, and I'm very, very thankful for those people who have taken time to teach this little girl, you know, because too many times we say, okay, get out of my way, I can do it faster. And I've said that too to my children. I'm in a hurry. Let me roll it out. Let me roll out the dough. Or, no, you can't help right now. But those people who dedicated their time to me, I stop and think, oh, I wouldn't be where I was if they said, no, get out of the way. That's just a lesson for me to remember, to remind myself.
And that's a beautiful lesson. And I definitely talk about that too, because I was really lucky that my mother taught me and had me in the kitchen very, very young. And I know that I have spoken to quite a few mamas who are like, I don't want them to get burnt or I don't want them to cut a finger off. And I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
there are steps you can take, but it's really important, I think, as a child to be included. And I know both my sons cook very well. My oldest son, I think, has almost surpassed me. So they have learned.
Mm.
It sounds
Mm-hmm.
like your children too, which is awesome. So since we were
Yes.
talking about your cookbook, because I have a copy of your cookbook and it's right in front of me, and guess where I have my little marker in it? Just
Where?
I have it on your super secret hamburger seasoning mix.
Oh, that's right. That's what we talked about before you purchased the cookbook. That's right.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Now there are some recipes. I have a playlist on YouTube, cooking through Miss Katie's cookbooks. But I'm just going to tell you, there's a secret. I don't share all of the recipes on YouTube. And that's one of them because I toiled on making, the little packets you buy and they've got all the stuff you can't pronounce and all the things that, oh my word, what is that? And I developed that. And we personally love that little mix, with or without the tomato paste. You and I talked about that.
Yes,
But yeah, so yeah, we like that recipe.
it's an amazing recipe. And so, can you share with our listeners where they can purchase your cookbook? Because I haven't even counted how many recipes in here, but there are a lot of just,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think there are 206 if I remember the number right. It's something like that. And it's stories, it's heritage stories, um it's tips. Here's the thing. Like I said, I like to read cookbooks as novels. So I wrote the cookbook with that person in mind, somebody who wants to just sit down. And I've had lots and lots and lots of people to say, some people bought it and said, I'm not planning on cooking out of it, because I don't cook. Some people just, they're in that
yeah,
season of life or older or what have you. And they said, I'm not going to cook out of it. But they've written me back and said, I love reading the stories. And when I say stories, it's my experience and from my childhood, but I wrote it hopefully for someone who doesn't even know me, who's never met me, and can think, "Oh, wow, that's a great story," or "I'm glad she shared that," or what have you. So, yeah, so I got tips and notes um, and menus in the back. Literally, I have kept my list of hospitality meals I've served people for 30 years. And so I'm slowly putting all those ideas into my cookbooks. I know that seems very odd to some people, but now I'm glad I have those lists to share. You can actually get a free chapter of my cookbook. So that's good news. And I don't think I mentioned that to you, Diana, but
no,
we offer a free chapter. It's the vegetables and side dishes. And all they have to do is go to the website, heritageways.com. And I think if you're there after about 5 seconds, a pop up will appear and it will say, would you like to receive the free chapter? And you enter your name and email. And I think it asks for your birthday because one of these days I'd like to get to the point of being able to send a free and new recipe to you for your birthday.
that
So,
is lovely.
yeah. So that's the way to get the free chapter. And also on that same website, there's a search bar. Two ways to find it, but you can just search cookbooks and then the page will come up, or you can go to the little menu at the top, and I believe it says, um, well, it's a trick question. I think it says general store, and then the drop down menu it'll say from Katie's Kitchen Cookbooks. It's really not hard to find, but yeah, on our website, and also our contact information is there. My email address. So if you get lost or confused, just email me, and I'm happy to respond.
Thank you so much for sharing that because this cookbook is, I've had so much fun reading it. And I love that you have seasoning mixes, which I don't know if I've seen that in another cookbook. So,
Really? Okay.
no, and you have a whole bunch of them. So
Yes.
the thing that I love about what you're doing too, and this is very specific to you, Miss Katie, is that when I've watched your YouTube videos or seen you on Instagram, it's like it's my sister because you've got
Oh.
all these little tips and
Oh.
here's the way that you can do it using an organic product, or if you want to use a non-fat you can, but I don't do that. But it's
Oh.
just so warm and welcoming, and I'm not intimidated because I love Southern food, but I didn't grow up with it, and so I don't know
Right.
how to cook it. So I've been slowly, experimenting with some things. So it's just,
Good.
you are so welcoming to those
Oh,
of us if this is not our heritage.
oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And that thrills me because part of our heart, I'm trying not to tear up here because I'm so passionate about part of our, when I say our, I mean mine and my husband's heart, our mutual heart is to sh- listen. We've learned a lot about grace, okay, and we've learned a lot about grace, but how have we learned that? We have learned that by listening to people's stories. And I don't want to get away from here tonight without saying how important it is, in our opinion, to listen to someone's story. And the reason, Diana, that I and thankful that I'm welcoming to you and you feel that way. And the reason I share different perspectives of, raw milk and non fat and all the things, everybody's got a story, everybody's got a perspective, everybody has um, a viewpoint. Everybody has a reason for the way they are. Their choices, their circumstances have made each of us the way we are. And if we will take time to listen, and I encourage comments on our videos. I mean, that's how we feel like we're walking in community with our friends and followers and subscribers. But, and by the way, we've got some dear, dear, dear friends on in the social media world that, we look forward to their comments and we write back and so forth. But there's so many different perspectives in the world, and I don't watch the news. I truly do not, and I couldn't
I
tell
don't
you
either.
a lot of. I don't, and there's two reasons. Number one, I'm just not interested. It's not my thing. But number two, I'm really too busy over here trying to encourage folks and push back the darkness and listen to someone's story. Um, yeah, I guess I got off on it. Didn't mean to get off
No,
on the tangent, but we are very passionate, more so than we ever have been, and we've actually taken steps toward being more intentional about listening to people's stories. And when you do that, and I know you know this, and you
mhm.
listen to a lot of people's stories, Diana, and I know we have the same heart on this. When a person takes time to really listen to someone's story, you start to think, oh my word, that's why they are the way they are. I don't mean that in a negative way, but that's
Mhm.
why they believe what they believe, or that's why they do this or do that, or and then you start to empathize or sympathize. You start to become friends, you start to share more, and if you can do it around the table, that's even better, for real. I mean, if you can do it around a table, we have had so many shoes under our table in the 30 years we've been married. We've had all kinds of walks of life, all shades of skin, um, different religious beliefs, not as many as I would like. I would like to have a larger circle of friends as far as uh, what am I trying to say?
Just diversity.
Ethnicities and beliefs and so forth. But so yeah, it's just so important to listen to someone's story, and that purpose in our life, mine and my husband's, recently has pretty much changed our perspectives in our lives for the better. I guess that's not what. Sorry, I might have gotten off on tangent a little bit,
No,
but
that this
it's
is
just so
beautiful.
important. It's so
It's so
important.
important. It's so important. I absolutely agree with you. And I think to sum it up, I think what you're saying is that if we can listen from a place of respect
Oh,
and
absolutely.
if our opinions don't have to be the same, our backgrounds don't have to be the same. But if we can listen with respect, we usually find understanding and common ground too. I think
That's
that's been one of the
yes.
surprising things for me is the commonalities for my for my day job, I've traveled a lot around the world, and that's one of the things that has surprised me the most is that somebody I've met may speak a different language, or might be their first language, have a different faith, have so many different things. But at the end of the day, the things that they truly value in their heart are almost exactly the same.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And don't you agree that you have to intentionally set out to make up your mind? I'm going to open my mind and open my heart and open my ears and close my mouth and listen to that person. Um, and
Yeah.
I, this is we if I could just say we are living in an RV right now. We're traveling around the nation, and this won't be forever. In fact, we are taking steps. It'll be a lot of steps, several months or maybe a year of steps to settle down again. But we are traveling around for the purpose of building community. That's really it in a nutshell. And we are intentionally stopping and listening to stories. And, if it comes up, it's happened in our travels that we have met some folks and said, "Oh, this heritage story, can we please share it with the world on YouTube?" And we have many of those. Um, you mentioned you hadn't seen some of those hope videos on our channel, and I do have a playlist called Spread Hope or Spreading Hope. So but we have learned a lot about ourselves, but about other people. And I want to encourage your followers. There are so many dear people and good people in this world. I mean, there are people out there seeking good and doing good and loving others, and I don't care what the negative news or whatever tells you. I don't know what it's telling everybody out there nowadays, but there's so much good. And yes, we have come together with people that don't believe the way we do religiously or socially or whatever, fill in the blank. And we have had meals and we have had laughter and we have had conversations. We've had a lot of conversations with people who don't have the same faith as us. And it was respect, mutual respect. And we've come away hugging and vowing to keep in touch and remain friends. And if we can just take time, now you don't have to travel the nation to do that. That is not necessary, but
Yeah.
absolutely not necessary. But that's just our personal intention right now that we're trying to do, and it's just made such a difference. And we're trying to teach our children. You can love people and you can be kind to them, but you don't have to agree with what they you don't have to agree, but you have to respect them. That's what we teach our children. You respect people, you love people, you be kind to them. You don't have to condone their behavior. If you don't approve, you don't have to uh, agree with them. And I just hope and pray that that's getting across to our children. And that's how we feel. That's how we feel about our many friends that we have on social media and in real life. And we're just thankful that for the grace that we've learned that we can extend to others, because everybody deserves grace.
That is absolutely so beautiful. I absolutely love those words. Thank you, Miss Katie. One of the things that my mama was such a good listener. And,
Mm,
several people go, "Oh, she's quiet, and she's shy." And what I learned as an adult is that my mother was all about listening to understand,
mm,
not listening to speak.
mm.
And I
Wow.
think that that's what you're talking about, is that really
Mhm.
being in a place where we listen to each other to understand. And that's
Yes.
super powerful. It's very, very powerful. And I agree, there are way
Yeah.
more good people than bad. And unfortunately, our mainstream media, they need to make money and they focus on all the horrible things going on. And the good
Mm.
news never really gets out, or does in very limited form. But I think that's why we're here and others like us, is to talk
Yes,
about that.
yes. Right,
There
right. And
are
I don't
so
know
many.
what's on the news. So I just threw
Yeah.
that out there. I want people to know there
No,
is so much
I
good.
still, I don't watch it, but I read it a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're running out of time, and this has just been, I feel like I need to have you back because I literally got through like half the questions I wanted to ask you.
Oh, well, that'd
But
be
I
fun.
can't, but I can't go without asking you like a really important question.
Uh-oh. What is it?
Yeah. So, one of my all-time favorite foods on the planet is fried chicken. I'm serious. I have been in search of like the best fried chicken. And this is going to sound really terrible, but the best fried chicken I ever had was at my husband's grandma's funeral in Ohio
Okay.
at the reception after the funeral. And I made him
Uh-huh.
go up and get me seconds. I've never been at a funeral where I've been like, I must have seconds of that food.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's funny.
So anyway, I had to ask you, are you a lover of the fried chicken? Do you cook it? Is it I know I
Okay.
have your cookbook, but I wanted to hear what you had to say about that to our listeners.
All right. Well, you're going to be shocked because, and I've got a story to go with that too. I don't make fried chicken on a regular. In fact, I make it. I don't. I'm just going to say I don't make it. That's not really true. I might make it once in a very blue moon, and that like is once every 10 years. And that's because it's pops all over, the grease is popping all over the place and that kind of thing. Now, do I eat it? Oh my word. Yes. And the crispier the better, and with mashed potatoes and gravy and baby peas and biscuits. And that's my favorite meal on the planet Earth. But I don't fry it myself, not because I don't know how, because I have fried it. You gotta have cast iron, gotta have a cast iron skillet. And now Crisco shortening is used to be the way to go, but now I don't use that anymore. So maybe peanut oil. But the secret is to soak it in buttermilk the night before. So that's the secret. You got to tenderize it, and it brings out, makes it tender and gets the flavor going. And then you your batter, or not your batter, but your flour and your seasonings, and you can put a little bit of the buttermilk with your fingertips in the flour and kind of work it in there, and that kind of moistens the flour. You have little clumps of moistened flour, so when you dip your chicken in your flour, it's the extra crispies. And so that's a secret from a restaurant, so don't tell. But anyway, it is so good to eat.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
have to tell a story because I have not always been. My husband loves my food, but you're asking about fried chicken. If I could just tell you, there are two foods that he says, no, Katie, never make them again. Okay, well, it was our first year of marriage. And even though I had cooked at home for my family, my childhood family, and I thought I knew what I was doing, I was trying to be, this magnificent wife. And we had gained weight in college, because who doesn't? And we were trying to, probably needed to lose weight. So I thought I'd make a turkey meatloaf. And that was nasty. I remember we lived in an apartment, and it was literally, it was student housing. And in Nashville, and we sat down to eat that, and it was like, you know, dog food at looking. And we didn't want to touch it, so we went to Taco Bell that night. Okay, so he won't let me make turkey meatloaf, but the second one are turkey drumsticks, and I couldn't help but think of that when you ask about fried chicken. I thought I was going to be great, and my king of the castle was going to be able to pull this wonderful drumstick to his mouth like they did in the movies, and it was going to be great. And I think I tried to grill it. I don't know. Surely I didn't try to fry it. That was 30 years ago. And it was bloody inside. So now the joke is, we go to the store and I'll point to a turkey drumstick 30 years later, and he says no. So, there are some foods that I'm not allowed to even try to cook for him. And those are the two foods. But, fried chicken, when we do settle down again, I'll make it, if the kitchen it's a lot of cleanup though.
It
It's
is
a
a lot.
lot of cleanup because you got the grease, you know, popping everywhere.
Okay,
But
but thanks for that
yeah,
little tip because I'm gonna try it. So I don't fry it, but I bake it, and
yeah,
so and my husband's actually like, you're getting pretty good at this baked thing. So it's like that
okay,
easy to fry. So I'm gonna try the buttermilk, and I didn't know the little trick about the little
that's
extra
it.
flakiness.
Yes, not a lot. You just want a little bit of, you want to just
A
drop
little bit.
some with your fingertips of the buttermilk down. And if you don't want to use the buttermilk that you just soak the chicken in, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you didn't want to, you can use, fresh buttermilk or whatever. But, and then, keep some buttermilk to make your biscuits because you got to have the biscuits. Oh, and then you got to have the gravy. So you can pan fry. Oh dear. I could just go on and on. You could pan fry instead of deep frying your chicken. Now I have done that a lot. And because then you can make your gravy. You can't really make your gravy very easily if you got 3 inches of oil left over. Oh, Diana, I could talk about
Oh,
food all day
yeah.
long.
So if you guys ever make it out to California, you have to let me know so we can connect. And I
Yes.
think at some point, I'm hoping, I don't know when it'll be, that Molly Mama's going to go on the road of and searching for some of these these foods that I love and don't know how to
Oh,
make.
that would be fun for you.
I think it would be fun. And one of the first ones that I would be on the road for is that fried chicken. It's like looking for the best fried chicken.
Well, I'll help you search out for it, or maybe by that time I will have decided to get up my nerve and fry it. But, and I've watched it on cooking shows and they make it look so easy, but I'm just telling you, the cleanup. I mean, it's the cleanup.
Oh yeah, it's the
But
cleanup. I
it's the,
agree. It's the cleanup.
but that would be awesome if you did that. You could go around hearing stories and eating the food. I don't know what's better than eating the food and hearing the stories. That's a great combination because one thing that we have learned is we're traveling around the nation and we don't identify as full-time RVers because we're not, that's not our goal. That's not our passion. We don't travel around to do all the fun things. We travel to build community. And here's one thing, a saying that I have coined, and I mean it. Turns out for us, friendships are the adventure. And that's what we're striving to do. We and have been able to do, building community and sharing friendships and learning from one another and hearing stories. And friendships are the adventure, we found out.
That is
So,
so beautiful. Wow. Okay, Miss Katie, we're going to have you back because seriously, I got through like half of what I wanted to talk to you about. So we're going to have to take this offline and chat about it later and come up with another time for you to come back
oh,
because
fun.
it was so fun to chat with you and to learn more about you and your family and what you're doing. And it's just such a lovely story what you're up to.
Oh,
I love it.
oh, thank
I
you. Thank you,
absolutely
Diana,
love
for
it.
having me. And I want to thank your listeners because they're so kind to listen. And so thank you. Thank you so much, Diana. It's been a blessing and I'm honored to have been here sitting at your table. I appreciate your hospitality, Diana.
Well, thank you for joining me here. I really appreciate it. So again, for our listeners, thank you. As Miss Katie was saying, thank you so much for listening to us. Remember to add the most important ingredient to every recipe you make, your love. And as my mama always said to me as we said our goodbyes, que Dios te bendiga, may God bless you. Thank you for tuning in to Molé Mama Cooking with Love.